Good morning, everyone. Welcome to your literacy lesson for Tuesday. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get started on our next lesson to do with writing our Edward Tulane chapter. So to start us off this morning, to get our brains warmed up, we're going to be trying to edit these sentences to be more interesting. So what I'd like you to do is rewrite the sentence, just changing the beginning of the sentence to just make it more interesting, okay? So, for example, instead of just saying Edward lay in the rubbish feeling sad, you might say the China doll lay in the rubbish feeling sad, okay? So you only have to change the first few words and then to make the sentence more interesting, okay? So rewrite each of those. Once you're finished with that, come back and press play. Okay, hopefully you've had a chance to rewrite those sentences. Now, I can't check each and every one of you, unfortunately, because it's a video, but I'm gonna have a go myself and show you what you could have done to rewrite those sentences. So instead of Edward, I could have written something like the China rabbit, just changing that pronoun to be a little bit more interesting. The China rabbit, like that. I've got Edward heard a snuffling sound and suddenly a shaft of light hit his eyes. So I could have changed Edward. Again, I could have said something like all of a sudden. Oops. L of a sudden. And I could put that comma there. He heard. All of a sudden he heard a snuffling sound and suddenly a shaft of light hit his eyes. Just a bit more interesting now. So instead of Edward saw that a shaggy brown dog was sniffing at his foot, I could change that to be peering down. He saw. Peering down. He saw that a shaggy brown dog was sniffing his foot. And then for the last one, I could have left it with Edward felt a shiver of fear, but I could say something like starting in his toes. Starting in his toes. Oops, O's, just toes. He felt a shiver of fear up his body, if I wanted to. His body. Okay. Oops. So now my sentences are just a little bit more interesting. Rather than them all starting with Edward, 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 I've added more information at the beginning to really change the sentences, make it more interesting. So today we're going to be working on varying our sentence openers to make our sentences more interesting for the reader. Okay? So we're going to jump into today's lesson by reminding ourselves what we're writing about. So remind yourself, what is the purpose of a fiction text? What is the purpose of a fiction text? It is spelt wrong again. Goodness me, I've got to fix that. What is the purpose of a fiction text? 1, 2, 3. It is to entertain. Excellent. And who is our audience? 1, 2, 3. Children. Hopefully you got those both right. I'm going to ask them every day, so we should be starting to remember that. So today we are focusing on the third paragraph in our story, in our chapter, where we learn about the new life with the new character's owners. Okay, so we're going to have a think about what would his life be like with Bull and Lucy. Remembering that Bull and Lucy are tramps, they're homeless, they wander around the country. So what would his life have been like? What sort of things might he have been doing? What sort of feelings would he had? What sights would he have seen? So just pause the video now, have a think to yourself, or if you've got somebody nearby that you can discuss with, have a chat. What things might Edward have seen or done in his life with Bull and Lucy, and how do you think he would have felt about this new life? So pause the video now and then come back. Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance to think about that, but maybe Edward would have seen beautiful landscapes as he's walking across the country. Maybe he would have met up with loads of other homeless people. We know that in the original story he sat around the campfire, so we could reuse that in our chapter today. We know that he Bull taught him about the constellations, looked up at the stars, so maybe we could use that in our writing today. Maybe one night they camped underneath the open stars with no fire, and he just watched the constellations move across the sky. Okay, and what do you think it would have been like? Well, although having no home can be quite difficult, it's also quite stress-free and relaxing, not having anywhere to be, so you just sort of wander around at your own pace. So maybe he really enjoyed the sort of slow and steady pace of Bull and Lucy's life together. All right, so let's have a look at the original text and what we're going to be rewriting. So we've got, life with Lawrence and Nellie was sweet. Edward spent his days happily watching Nellie bake and listening to her interesting stories. In the evening, Lawrence took him outside to look up at the constellations. Edward loved listening to the names of each one. Everything was just perfect until Nellie and Lawrence's daughter came along. So, looking at the start of each of those sentences, let me underline it. It says, oh, that's not a pen. Life with Lawrence and Nellie. Edward spent his days. In the evening, Lawrence took him outside. Edward loved. Everything was perfect until. What do you notice about the beginning of those sentences? Well, they're all different, okay? There's only one repetition where we've got Edward and Edward, but other than that, every single sentence starts in a different way, and each time adds more information, okay? Rather than just saying Edward liked his life with Nellie and Lawrence, it's life with Lawrence and Nellie was sweet, okay? Not just that Lawrence took him outside, it's in the evening, so it's adding that when bit of information with a fronted adverbial, okay? We've got an until, okay? That conjunction at the beginning of the sentence really gives me an idea of the order of events, okay? So we're going to be working on, throughout this paragraph, to change each start of the sentence using different words to make it more interesting for our reader. It'd be very boring reading Edward did, Edward that, Edward this. So what are we going to write about? Well, our first part is going to be, how did the main character, that is Edward, feel about their new life? What did they do every day? What else did they do? Maybe like during the night or something. And then lastly, we're going to introduce the problem. We're not going to give much detail there. We're just going to introduce the, oh no, something's about to change. All right, so we're going to jump straight into it. Your turn, my turn, writing each sentence as we go. So the first part of our paragraph is, how did Edward feel about their new life? So in the original text, it said, life with Lawrence and Nellie was sweet. So I'm not going to do a lot of information here. I'm just going to give an overall statement about what it was like. So maybe we say it was easy, it was happy, it was joyful, it was pleasant. And again, we could keep the sentence fairly similar. Life with Bull and Lucy was easy. Traveling with Lucy and Bull was joyful. Wandering the roads with Bull and Lucy. Okay, so I'm going to come across to my book where I'm going to be writing. I'm going to start by writing the date. You might have noticed I had the wrong date on the screen yesterday, which is very embarrassing. But I'm going to start by writing my date up the top. So today is Tuesday. It is the 2nd of February. Oops, February 2021. And I'm going to underline that so that I know that it is today's work, not getting it mixed up with any other day. All right, so to start myself off, I want to be writing, how did Edward feel about his new life? So I'm just going to have a simple sentence saying with traveling with Bull and Lucy was fun. Okay, nice and simple, straightforward sentence, and I can tick off that I've stated how he enjoyed his new life. So, your turn. I'm going to leave this screen. I'd like you to pause the video, write a nice simple sentence explaining how did he feel about his life. Once you've done that, come back and press play. Okay, now that you're back and you've written that sentence, let's move on to our next one. So, what did they do? So if we look at the original text, Edward spent his days happily watching Nellie bake and listening to her story. So we're going to pick 2 or 3 things that Edward might have done while he was traveling along the road with Bull. So maybe he was wandering along desert roads, or rambling through fields, or strolling through the countryside. Maybe he enjoyed watching the multicolored landscapes drift by, or traveling in empty freight cars, which are parts of a train that you can enter and travel on, since we know he's homeless and he was doing that. So picking 2 things that you think that he might have enjoyed doing. He might have loved listening to Bull's stories about all the places he'd been. He might have loved stopping to pick daisies with Bull, or make Lucy a daisy chain to wear on her head. It's quite cute, something you might do with your dog, right? So pick 2 things, right? It's my turn now. I'm going to write my sentence. So coming back, I'm going to continue on here. Remember that your character is still called Edward, but Lucy and Bull think he has a different name. Okay, so Edward spent his days, so working on every second line, please. Spent his days, and I'm going to use a descriptive word, so not just riding, but joyfully riding. On Bull's shoulders. And one more thing, and watching the landscape go by from, and where was he? From empty freight cars. So freight, F-R-E-I-G-H-T, freight cars on trains. Full stop to finish. Okay, so I'm just going to reread it. Edward spent his days joyfully riding on Bull's shoulders and watching the landscape go by from empty freight cars on trains. Lovely. So I've said 2 things that he enjoyed doing with Bull that made it sound like it was fun. So I'm going to tick off what did they do every day. I'll switch it back. Your turn. Pause the video now, and I'd like you to write down a 1 or 2 sentences about 2 things or 3 things that he did with Bull and Lucy during the day. Okay, now that you've written out that little bit about what they were doing, we're going to write what else did they do. Okay, so in the evening, Lawrence took him outside to look up at the constellations. Edward loved listening to the names of each one. So we saw that in the first part of this paragraph, he wrote about what he did with Nellie, and in the second bit of this paragraph, he's writing about what he did with Lawrence. So perhaps in your paragraph, if you wrote about something he did with Bull, now you could write about something he did with Lucy every night, okay, or other people. So you might use a fronted adverbial to start it with in the evening, or when the sun set, or under the night sky, or as the sun went down, okay? So thinking, what might they do in the evenings? They might gather around a campfire with other tramps. He might snuggle up to Lucy as he fell asleep in the moving train. Okay, can be anything you like that you think he might have gotten up to. So my turn now. I'm going to come across and I'm going to continue my sentence. So you can just start with at night if you like, or in the evening. So I'm going to do at night. At night, oh, I'm taking a breath. I need a comma to separate my fronted adverbial. At night, they all curled up together underneath the stars. Now I'm going to add another sentence here about how he feels about this, just to bring it home about, you know, this is a good place, he's enjoying himself. So maybe he's lying under the stars, so the constellations. The constellations reminded him of Lawrence, because that's who taught him. Lawrence, though he was happy with Bull. Though he was happy with Bull. Now, though is a great word to use, a conjunction to join the two bits of information together. So making those varied sentence lengths by using a conjunction to join two bits of information together to make your writing more interesting. Okay, so I'm going to come back to this screen. You can pause the video now, and I'd like you to write a second thing that they did, maybe at a different time of day or in a different place. So pause the video. Once you've done that, come back and press play. Okay, we're up to our very final part of our paragraph where we're going to introduce the problem. And we're going to do that by contrasting two different sentences. The first sentence you can see here, everything was fine, is a short, sharp sentence that tells me it's good. And then immediately after I've got until something changed, okay? Until, or sadly, or everything changed that night, okay? So just giving like a warning, a bit of anxiety for the reader, but not telling them what it is. Okay, so coming across to mine, I'll quickly have a go first. So I might just say that everything was, and you could just use fine, or maybe we could use a stronger word, up to you. Everything was fine, short, sharp sentence. And then I might just do until, until, and I'm just going to give a bit of like a heads up about what's going to happen. I'm not going to tell them exactly, but until the night they were discovered on a train. All right, so I've given a bit of a warning to the reader that something is going to happen. Oh, I forgot to tick off my steps to success. What else did they do? I've now introduced a problem. Tomorrow's lesson, we will be writing about them being discovered on a train specifically. So if you would like to mention that, that is absolutely fine. Okay, so I'm going to put the screen on here. You can pause the video, and then once you've written that sentence, come back for the very last thing you need to do. All right. Okie dokie. Now that you've written your last sentence of your paragraph, we're just going to go through my paragraph and do some editing, and then it'll be your turn. Okay, so I'm going to reread it from start to finish. I'm looking for spelling errors, punctuation errors, capital letters, full stops, or just up leveling my vocabulary. All right, so traveling with Bull and Lucy. Oh, Lucy is a name, which means it needs what? Capital letter. So editing that in a different sentence. Traveling with Bull and Lucy was fun. Edward spent his days joyfully riding on Bull's shoulders. Bull's shoulders. There's an error there. Who owns the shoulders? Bull. So if he owns it, what do I need to put to show that ownership? What do we use? An apostrophe to separate the S. Bull's shoulders. And watching the landscape go by from empty freight cars on trains. At night, they all curled up together underneath the stars. The constellations reminded him of Lawrence, though he was happy with Bull. Okay, great, not seeing any errors. Everything was fine until the night they were discovered on a train. Right, there's no errors here. However, I think it's a little bit dull. I'm going to change maybe one of the words. So maybe fine is a bit boring, a bit of a bland word. So, oh, very sorry about that. I'm going to cross out fine. I'm going to make it more interesting. Everything was excellent. Everything was wonderful. Everything was pleasant. Everything was wonderful. Okay, until excellent, lovely. That's a much more interesting paragraph. So it is your turn. Please go and edit your paragraph, looking for errors, up-leveling vocabulary or sentences that you think could just be a little bit better. Okay, that is the end of our lesson today. I hope you've enjoyed today's lesson, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow when we're writing the 4th paragraph of Edward Tulane. Have a lovely day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.